3 minutes on respiration. We're going to start by asking why we do respiration. Well, we do respiration to get energy. It's not about the carbon dioxide and the water that we produce, which we breathe out. It's about the energy that's produced. Why do we need the energy? Well, we need it for growth and repair. So for mitosis, of making new cells, for growth, for movement, for the synthesis of proteins and large molecules. And remember, we need energy for active transport, which is moving particles from an area of low concentration to high concentration against a concentration gradient. So that's always a good one to remember. And so we need energy to live, basically, but those are the areas that we need to remember for our Gcse. And so how does that happen? Well, it happens, first of all, by aerobic respiration. And we need to know the equation off by heart, back to front, topsy-turvy, upside down. Glucose plus oxygen goes to carbon dioxide plus water plus energy! And we need to know the formula equation of that, which is glucose C6H12O6 plus oxygen 6O2 goes to 6CO2 plus 6H2O. So it's all the sixes. It's very easy. Very easy to remember it is if you know the photosynthesis equation, it's just that, completely backwards. It's photosynthesis, energy is put in via light energy, where in respiration, energy is released. It takes place in the mitochondria. That links in with our cellular organelles that we need to know. And mitochondria are in plants and animal cells. So, what happens in aerobic respiration? Well, oxygen is delivered by the blood, and we get the oxygen through breathing. Breathing is not respiration. Breathing is just getting the oxygen into our bodies. The oxygen goes down a concentration gradient from the alveoli into the blood, into the red blood cells. They are pumped by the heart to the tissues. And then oxygen goes from the red blood cell into the mitochondria down a concentration gradient and combines with glucose to allow us to do respiration and get the energy. So, that is aerobic respiration. It happens in the mitochondria, and that's the equation for it. Now, we also need to know about another one, which is called anaerobic respiration. Now, anaerobic respiration is when we don't have enough oxygen to break down the glucose completely. And so what the body does is very clever. And if your body is under a lot of pressure, say let's you're sprinting for 400 meters, you can't get the oxygen quick enough to your cells, and so your body takes a kind of shortcut. It partially breaks down the glucose, gets a little bit of energy, and then moves on to the next glucose. Partially breaks it out, get a bit of energy, moves on to the next one. And that actually gives more energy faster than the very time-consuming breaking down the glucose completely with oxygen. And we call this anaerobic respiration because it doesn't involve oxygen. There's one problem though. Although it gives us a really short hit, fast amount of energy, it produces a toxin called lactic acid. Lactic acid, when it accumulates, causes muscle fatigue and cramp, and it is a poison. And so after a certain amount of time, we have to stop. And your body will just be screaming to your brain, stop, as the pain kicks in. What happens then after we've produced this lactic acid and we've stopped? Well, you'll notice that we will be breathing really hard and our heart rates will be going very, very fast indeed. That's all to do with our response to exercise. We increase our breathing rate because we want more oxygen to get to our cells via the blood. But more oxygen alone wouldn't cut it. We need an increased heart rate as well to pump the blood quicker. So oxygen is from breathing, blood is pumped faster through the heart and it gets to our cells to give us more oxygen and, in fact, glucose for trying to do either aerobic or anaerobic. Now, the problem is after we finish exercise, we're there breathing. We carry on, don't we, after we finish the sprint. We don't just stop immediately. And that's because we have got what we call an oxygen debt. It's a bit like while we were really sprinting, we were borrowing the energy without actually paying our dues, which is the oxygen. So after we have produced this lactic acid and we've stopped, we need to repay the oxygen it takes to break down the lactic acid completely into carbon dioxide and water, and that is called the oxygen debt, key term. It's the oxygen that is required to break down the lactic acid after we've done anaerobic respiration. And so there is three things in this topic. First is aerobic respiration, second is anaerobic respiration, and the last is response to exercise. Just on that response to exercise, remember, it's all about getting oxygen and glucose to the cells faster so there can be more respiration, so there can be more energy. Don't just say the breathing rate increases to give more oxygen. It's more oxygen for respiration. And so because there's more respiration, there's more energy to do the movement, to contract the muscles, whatever it may be. We're out of here.